Today's edition of Mac Voices is sponsored by Drobo, a family of safe, expandable, yet simple-to-use storage arrays. Visit drobo.com/MacVoices and use the offer code VOICES100 for special pricing for Mac Voices viewers and listeners. And by Mac Voices Magazine, our free Flipboard magazine that brings you some of the best Mac, iPhone, and iPad productivity tips on the web. High in signal, low in noise, just like Mac Voices, Mac Voices Magazine includes information on how you can get more out of your Apple technology. Subscribe at MacVoices.com/magazine or search for Mac Voices Magazine on Flipboard. Welcome to Mac Voices. This is a talk in the Mac community. I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, today we're going to talk video, we're going to talk iPads and iPhones and all kind of great things. And we're going to talk about a piece of software called Switcher Studio, something new on the scene that I'm excited about because it's the kind of thing that just makes me want to go and spend money and play. And that's never a good thing.
We don't have to spend that much.
Yeah, so. Good to know. Good to know. Folks, please welcome Nick Mattingly of Switcher Studio. Nick, it's great to have you.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Happy to be here.
So you can't help me with the iPads and iPhones, unfortunately. The service is not too expensive, but the other stuff,
Yeah.
But hey, we probably all have stuff laying around that we can task to this. Tell us what Switcher Studio is.
Yeah, so Switcher is a mobile video app for iPhone and iPad, and it allows you to do multi-camera, like TV-style productions using those devices. You can bring in graphics, photos, you can do screen sharing, picture-in-picture, and you edit your productions in real time like you would with a traditional video mixer, and you can record that program feed in real time. You can also do live video, so if you want to send it to YouTube, Ustream, Twitch, there's a big list of platforms that hooks in with as well. And then we have a new feature we rolled out recently called Director Mode, and that's what I'm really excited to talk about today. And it allows you to have a full HD recording from every angle that it will piece together for you afterwards. So even if you need to do a lower quality live broadcast, you still get the full quality video to put up afterwards. And you can even push that in the Final Cut and have everything show up, so you're just tugging at things and not starting from scratch.
Wow. So let me make sure I got it right. So I can have like 3 video sources set up. I'm capturing HD video from all 3, and I can send it out live using the director. But I'm also capturing all those streams, so then I could maybe do a better edit later.
Exactly. Yes.
Wow.
So short version, it's an easy way to make better video, something that's dynamic, that's got multiple angles and a little bit of flair without spending $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 on equipment to get started.
Yeah, of course I was joking earlier, but seriously, we all have an iPhone, at least one iPad. Some of us have more. Some of us have more iPhones, and you also have those hand-me-down iPhones that are in the family that could probably be pressed into service for something like this. So,
right, and the new iPod Touches, they have the same camera as the iPhone 6. They're $200. I mean, it's incredible. And at the end of the day, it's not just a camera or a box in the closet that you pull out once a week. It's still an iOS device. You can still get on Facebook. You can still send emails. So they're good to have around anyways. And I mean, we don't make money off of Apple selling this stuff, but they make great cameras. It's incredible how far they've come.
So let's talk a little bit. We're going to take a look at at some of this as we go, but let's talk philosophically, or I guess just high level. So I've got all my devices. I'm assuming that I'm connecting this over Wi-Fi. Right.
So the first step before you launch your devices is just to go into your general settings, and you'll make sure that they're all on the same network. If you're doing a remote mobile production, you could fire up the hotspot on your phone and connect all of your devices to that and still do the multi-camera piece, still use your LTE connection to do live video. You just won't be able to go as far between your devices because you can always build a bigger bubble.
Right.
And that's the great thing about switchers. We've had productions where people are doing like dedicated networking, and they've done video in concert halls or like covered an entire football field and had kids at the coin toss in either end and somebody up in the stands. I mean, it looks like an ESPN production. So it's all wireless. You just connect them all to the same network before you launch the app. And when you first open Switcher Studio, you'll get 2 options. It will say use it as a camera or use it as a switcher. It's a little blown out there. If you hit use a switcher, you'll log in with your account that you create through our website, and that's where all the magic happens. You can connect other devices. You can tell it if you want to record or stream or use the director mode or send video to an Apple TV or an external display. That's your control room. If you have another device, you just, same thing, connect to the same network, open the app, and you'll hit use this camera, and it just waits to connect. So you could literally pull somebody off the street, say, download the app, you're a cameraman today, and they're a part of your production. It doesn't cost them anything.
Okay, so that app is free. It's the service that you're running on your servers that we're paying for.
Right. So it's a free download. It's the mixing interface that you're paying for. We have a dedicated support team. We're pushing out updates all the time. So when you go to switcherstudio.com, you'll create an account, email address and password, and then you'll use those same credentials to log into the app. But from the dashboard, from the website, you can also remotely manage channels. So if you're doing live video, you could have somebody that knows how to set up embed codes and put in RTMP streams and URLs, do all of that. And the people doing the productions don't even have to think about it. It shows up in the app automatically. So they sync it to the output or the channel they want to broadcast to. And so you can manage that remotely. That's one of the really cool things that's built into the dashboard. We also have an automated speed test that's part of that service. So if you're doing a live broadcast, you can, within the app, run the speed test. It will ping your connection and automatically adjust the resolution and the bit rate and the audio and everything to make sure that you're not putting out more than your connection can handle. And we'll keep building on those features, and we're starting to offload some of the things that are happening on the hardware through the dashboard and the cloud services.
Okay, so again, to be real clear here, so this is a product where at least the one of the devices has to be not just on a Wi-Fi network, but it has to be connected to the internet.
Only if you're doing live video. If you want to use the app as a way to do a multi-camera production that you're going to upload afterwards, or you want to have that footage to play with, you could just plug a router into the wall and use it as a hub for communication between devices. You don't have to have an outgoing connection. So that's just the way for the cameras to see one another. It's only if you're doing live video that you need an outgoing connection.
Okay, that in my mind is a key point, because it seems like we have internet everywhere, but you're never quite sure. Yeah. And obviously, you're going to have tested it out if you're going to be streaming live out to the web. But if you were just doing that remote production, but you still wanted these capabilities, it's nice to know I could just plug in an old Airport Express or something, and
exactly.
I've got it.
And without even getting into the multi-camera aspect, there's so much you can do with just that one device. The main mixing device, you can use the built-in camera. You can add photos, graphics. So if you have a title card or an image or a sponsor, you could bring that in as your part of your production. You can do images with opacity. So if you had a lower third or a corner bug, you can prep those. So you can start switching between all these sources without even bringing in another device. And with the one device, if you're doing like a lecture capture or a workshop, you could use our free screen sharing app to bring in your computer as a source without getting into another like iPhone or iPad, and do like a multi-view and a picture-in-picture. So it's really easy to get excited about all the possibilities of the software, because there's so much you can do. But you can dial it down a little bit too, and there's a lot you can do with just the one device.
How about hardware and software requirements? I know we're talking about iPhones and iPads. How far down will they run, and what system versions do we need?
We go all the way back to iPad 2 and iPhone 4. So we've tried to make this really lightweight and keep it compatible with older devices. Eventually, some of those might start to fall off, but we know for a fact that people hold on to their iPads. So we wanted to make sure that we built software that was going to work with what they already have. Obviously, if you have a newer device, it's going to be a little snappier. You're going to be able to take advantage of some of the new features that we roll out a little better than you could on some of the older devices. It does work on previous versions of iOS, but again, newer hardware up-to-date operating system, you're going to be able to take advantage of everything that's there.
Yeah, it makes a big difference. Now, we were saying, let's see, I want to make sure I do this in the right order. We don't have to have an internet connection. Does that mean then, what am I paying for the apps then to have these capabilities if I'm not paying for the server part?
Well, we're continually developing this product. You don't buy it today and then that's it. We're pushing out updates all the time. So you're able to update the app and get those features. We have a dedicated support team. So we're here to help you if you have problems or questions. We want to make sure you're successful. We have other programs that aren't iOS related. There's the the screen sharing app where you can bring in your computer screen. We have a desktop app so you can interface those recorded files with Final Cut and transfer it to a format that it can understand. So it's a lot more than just the app. There's the app, there's the desktop applications, there's the cloud services. We're really focused on support and making sure that people are successful.
One thing I think you have to get a lot of support calls on is streaming out to the web. That still is not a mystery, but there's so many options right now, and it can get really confusing. What all do you support, and do we have any intermediaries that we have to go through, or are we just able to use your software?
So if you're doing live video, we have a list of supported streaming platforms on the website, and we have full tutorials, walkthroughs on where you go on their site to get the information, how to interface it with the app, how to manage those remotely through our dashboard. It works with YouTube, Ustream, Twitch, Concert Window, StageIt, streaming video provider. And there's a big list of confirmed platforms. It works if you have your own Wowza service or installation. It works with that in most cases. The app uses RTMP, which has been the standard for live video for a while. And if there's an RTMP platform you're using, it's very likely that Switcher Studio will work with it. So if you're doing live video, in most cases, people already have a destination. And you look at these platforms, they really kind of have their own niches. Like Concert Window is for concerts, Twitch is for video gaming. The Cube is high school athletics primarily. Now, none of these platforms are going to kick you off if you're not broadcasting video that's in that niche, but it makes it easier to get to your audience. So if you're new to streaming and you're doing it for the first time, that might be something to consider is what are we broadcasting? Who are we trying to reach? And maybe some of these platforms have more tools in place that cater to you and your audience.
I love the fact that it's a place where so many things fall down. I love the fact that you have built the tutorials and you tell me where to go on their site to get the information and walk me through step by step. That's such a big thing because so many software developers, I think, make a lot of assumptions. I mean, they live with it day in and day out, and they're not thinking about, Joe Q. Public, who sits down for the first time and says, okay, now how do I hook into Yahoo, or how do I hook into some of these, and then gives up 3 minutes later because it's just too tough.
Right, and we know that a lot of our users are using YouTube Live. YouTube has opened up their live video streaming capabilities to everyone in the past year. It's incredibly hard to use. There's a lot of steps. You have to have a computer to monitor or preview the video before you can publish it. So even though we can input the information in the app, you currently have to use a computer to make sure that stream is coming through and publish it before your viewers can see it. We're working on some things to streamline that. We have a YouTube Easy button under wraps we're going to be rolling out before the end of the year. And you'll be able to see your YouTube events within Switcher Studio. You'll be able to create events directly within the app. And it is probably going to be one of the easiest ways to broadcast to YouTube Live before the end of the year.
Yeah, case in point. Anything else we should know about Switcher Studio before we go to the screen share and start looking and seeing what it's all about?
I guess going back to just the previous statement that don't get intimidated by the multi-camera aspect. That is one of the core functionalities, and it opens up a lot of possibilities. But if you're new to Switcher Studio, start with the one device. Use the built-in camera, use the graphics, use the image insertion, get familiar with the interface and the workflow, and you can still be creating great content without getting overly complicated. If you're doing multi-camera, we have some suggestions and recommendations on networking. If you're doing a very, very large space, you might want to bring somebody in to help you out and make sure you get that right. But it's magic.
Yeah. I'm thinking about the first time somebody sat me down at a video switcher was at a live event and said, okay, you hit this to go live, but you're going to be seeing the preview of what the other camera's seeing over here. And it's not confusing. Well, it is a little confusing to get started because you're trying to watch two different things, keep in your head or remember what the indicator is as to what's actually going out to the audience. And yeah, you are definitely going to need just a little bit of practice. Yeah. An evening and you'll get it. But play with it for an evening before you decide to put it up in front of 500 people.
Right, especially for live video. Try it first. I mean, you can give it a go, and it's probably going to work for you. But it's always good to have a test run, scout out the space, do a little bit of prep work if you're going to do the live component.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so let's take a look at it.
Okay. So this is the main mixing interface. If you log in using your credentials that you created through our website, this is what you'll have access to. It will launch on the Outputs tab, and this is where you decide what you're going to do with the app. I'll back up for a second. The main interface is broken into 4 sections. It's kind of a grid. And so the bottom right corner is your settings. And we'll have a series of tabs across the bottom so you can control your output destinations. Are we recording only? Are we doing live video? Are we using the directory mode capabilities where we're recording on every camera? Are we sending video to an Apple TV or an external monitor? The Outputs tab is where you start your production, where you say what you're going to do for that event. We also have an Effects tab where you can adjust the transitions that we have when we switch sources. There's also multi-view effects. So if you want to do a 2-up or a picture-in-picture, there's multiple layout options where we can queue those up. We have camera control settings. So this is where we can adjust the focus, the exposure, the white balance. You can even remotely trigger the tally light on a connected device. So if you want to use that as a trigger or a way to let somebody know that they're live, you could cue that from the main device. You also have a tally light on the camera when you're switching. So there's a visual representation on the remote cameras that says whether it's queued up or whether your source is live. So if you need to lock down and make sure you don't mess up, without any verbal communication, you'll be able to see that just through the app interface. We also have an audio panel where you can preview levels for sound. And then there's the graphics tab, and this is where you can insert photos, images, overlays. And the first tab is inputs. So this is where we add extra cameras. So all of your settings are in this bottom right panel. They're very easily accessible. And we've got some great tutorials on the website that will walk you through these in more detail. The bottom left panel is where you can preview all of your sources. So as you connect devices, they will show up in this bottom left corner. You can connect up to 4 sources. So that could be the built-in camera on your main device, or you can disable the built-in camera and connect up to 4 additional sources. So the main iPad can be just a video mixer. You could sit in the back of a room with it in your lap and just look like somebody in the crowd. You can also bring your computer screen in as one of these sources. And this is where you can see what's happening from every one of those feeds. It's very, very snappy. We don't have a lot of dropped frames here, so it is a very good representation of what's happening from those other angles. The top left pane is the preview pane. So this is where you can queue a source, and you can see that video before you push it to be recorded or to be sent out to your viewers. You can also use the preview panel to build compositions. So you may have saw, I'll come back to this in a second, but you may have saw where I queued up a 2-up or a picture-in-picture. you can build and layer those elements in the preview window before you push them out to your viewers. And then we have the preview to live button that we push that moves it to the top right pane, and that is the final mixed video. So that's the program feed that gets saved to the main device that is immediately available as soon as you end your production. That is what gets broadcast to your viewers. And that's the live edits that you're going to see for the video you create using the app. Two more notes here. The top left has a recorded media bin. So this is where you'll have access to your files and you can manage those. And the top right corner has the record and broadcast button. So it's the big red button you hit when you're ready to start your production.
One thing I want to make sure that the listeners and especially the viewers understand is that we are obviously recording this over Skype. And so as a result, what Nick's picture when he was on, we're seeing about a half-second delay in the video. But that's not representative of the program. It's just the way we're having to record this.
Right.
So let's be real clear on that, because I know you specifically said we're not seeing too many drop frames. And it's like, yeah, that's not the way it's looking to us, but that's completely understandable given what we're doing here.
Right. Thanks for the clarification. The app will automatically sync your sources. There's not anything special you have to do. As soon as you connect them to the main device, we're constantly resetting the clock to make sure everything matches up. One question we get a lot is audio. How do you manage audio? Audio comes through the main device. So you can use the headphone jack, you can use the built-in microphone, or you can use a digital audio adapter through the Lightning port, or the same connection you use to charge your device. As long as your audio comes in through the main switcher, it's going to match up with the rest of your production. So there's a company called iRig that makes a adapter that's $30 or $40. It goes into the headphone jack. One thing that's really important to know about iPhones and iPads, they use what's called a TRRS connection. So it has 3 rings, and that's how you're able to use your headphones and your mic simultaneously. So you'll have to have a special adapter if you're bringing audio into the headphone jack on your device. If you use just a standard 1/8" headphone jack, it might not know what to do with it. We also have Bluetooth audio support. So if you're doing a interview or you have one person on camera, you could use a Bluetooth headset or maybe one of the neck pieces, and it will use the microphone from that device for your video production. So you can do wireless audio without spending $400 on a special system.
Go back again, and let's be real clear here. The audio from the is supposed to come into the main device. So the audio is coming in this case, to whatever you're using as the switcher. That's the way you classify a main device. Exactly.
Yes. So this interface is the primary mixing device. This is switcher. As long as you bring audio into the one that you are logged into, it will match up with the rest of your devices. Let me see if I can bring up an example. Another one here. Hey, Dan, can you get this on the Wi-Fi? Great. So we'll let him work on that. We can keep talking.
Okay.
But I'll bring in the phone, and we'll just show the phone interface. But it's full screen video. We have the tally lights, and when you're hot, from those remote sources.
But we are limited to that one audio input, so we don't have audio switching capabilities here.
Right. Think about audio as you would for any traditional setup. Either you have the one microphone that you're bringing in, or you use a separate mixer where you manage all of your levels and bring the main audio mix into Switcher Studio.
Okay, so if I'm doing a show and I want to bring a little theme music, I need to have an outboard solution for that.
Exactly.
Got it. Okay.
So Dan just connected my phone to the Wi-Fi.
Okay.
And I've launched the app. So within the main switcher, you'll see Nick's phone. I'll connect to it. It's going to take over. And now it's our third source. So you saw it pop up here in the bottom left corner of the interface.
Okay. Got it.
So Dan, say hi.
Hello, Dan.
Great.
Thanks
We'll
for
drop
backing us up.
that off.
Very nice. Very nice. This is going to look great on an iPad Pro.
It's a lot of real estate. So also the specs are incredible. So as we continue to push this and keep rolling out new features, you're going to be right there at the forefront of keeping up with those.
What do you, I know we were talking about the cameras and all that you could use, the devices it supports, but what would you recommend for an acceptable level of switcher experience as the main device?
Yeah, so the iPad Mini is great. There even the previous model without the thumb sensor with the Touch ID makes a great main mixing device. The internal specifications on the previous model and the most recent iPad Mini are very, very similar, and those are extremely affordable. I think they start at $300. Um, the main mixing device, if you're using the director mode, you may want to look at a higher capacity device that has more storage because it will be compositing those files and bringing in video from all of the angles after your production. So if you're doing the director mode, you might want to look at maybe a 64 gig or the 128 gig for the main device. Remote cameras isn't as big of a deal. It ends up being about a gig to 2 gigs per hour, depending on quality.
Now, let me see, because you sort of read ahead and got to my next question. So all the video that we're capturing, whether we're broadcasting it live or not, all the video is coming into the main device, and that's where it's being captured. It's not being captured on the remote devices.
Right. So by default, it's the main device that is only recording, and it records the program feed. So it's the video that's being transferred over the network, and it's everything you see in that top right panel is saved to that device or can be broadcast. And that video is available for playback as soon as you stop your production, and you can see it immediately. It's putting that together in real time. If you are using the director mode, it will disable the built-in camera on the main device, and each connected source, each iPhone or iPad will have its own independent recording so that you have that full quality video from every angle. You can still see it on the main switcher. You can still do live video, but when you're done with your production, it will start transferring all those files back to the main mixing device and piece it back together with the edits that you made during your production so that you have full quality video regardless of any hiccups or glitches on the network. And you can even assign a fixed frame rate for that final composition, which was a request from some of our European broadcasters. They do the 25 frames per second. So we've got some TV stations that are actually using the director mode capabilities to record multi-camera productions using iPhones and iPads and then putting them on air later for people to watch on television.
This is very, very slick. And this, I mean, this takes the place of some hardware that can cost a lot of money.
It adds up really quickly. And the amount of time it takes to set up multiple productions is it's rough. Dan, my business partner, comes from a production background. He's done hundreds of TV shows, thousands of streams, like setting up for conferences and athletic events. And there would be days we would spend half of the day just running cable and getting everything set up and situated for production and testing everything out for the live video component. Switcher, we can be up and running in a couple minutes. So, I mean, you probably want to give yourself more time than that just to try things out. But it's so easy to use and so easy to set up. And even the workflow on the back end. Once you're done with your production, you have a really great video that you already have access to. And if you want to bump it up a notch, as long as you've used director mode, you have even better quality video.
So what, a little bit of geek questioning, but what format are you capturing the video in?
Right. So the video is saved in MOV format. So Apple plays nice with that and works really well for iMovie and Final Cut. I'm a big Adobe fan. We love using Premiere. The director mode capabilities for pushing it to your computer aren't currently capable with Adobe because there's some weird things about how they handle video from cell phones in general. The frame rate starts to bounce around on your sources, and Apple doesn't really give us a good way to lock that in on the remote devices. But as we start to build our composition, we reprocess everything and we can make sure that it sticks. So we're working on some things to hook it into Adobe Premiere and some of the other editing workflows. Right now it is iMovie and Final Cut on the back-end integration. But you still have the raw video from all of those files. And we do have tutorials on the website on how to process or render those so that you can use them in other editing software.
Where do the video files end up? Are they being captured? Are they being stored within the program, or are they going out to my camera roll or somewhere else?
Right. They are saved within Switcher Studio. So from the main device, you can go to the record media bin in the top left corner and get access to those files. When you first launch the app, there's a menu option where you can also access your files. And if you need to connect to your computer and you want to do a drag and drop, you can open iTunes and go down to your apps and see Switcher Studio, and it shows up just like a thumb drive or a portable hard drive. All of your files will show up within the Switcher Studio app, and you can just pull them wherever you need to.
Nick, you're going to take up a lot of my vacation time over the holidays because this is just too much fun not to play with.
Are we going to get to see your Christmas from multiple angles?
No, I don't think you want to do that. No, that could get ugly.
There we go.
Before we go back to the cameras, anything else that we want to show about the interface, or are we pretty good?
That's probably a good overview. Like I said, there's more in-depth tutorials on the website, switcherstudio.com. We have a knowledge base. And when you log into your account for the first time, we also have tutorial videos on how to connect devices, how to set up streaming, how to manage your broadcast. So we try to lean in with some educational content on how to use the product. And every question we've ever been asked, we've tried to write an article for or put together a video. So you can also search those forums and more than likely find a response in there. If you find a new one or you're still having problems, like I said, we have a really great support team and we're here to help. So just drop us a line and we'll make sure we get you situated.
This edition of MacVoices is sponsored by Drobo, a family of safe, expandable, yet simple to use storage arrays that are designed to protect your important data forever. Visit drobo.com/MacVoices and use the offer code VOICES100 for special pricing for MacVoices viewers and listeners. As I've mentioned before, Drobo is my choice for safe, simple to use storage that does so much more. This time, let's dig into a few details that make a Drobo, and not just another hard drive case or RAID array. RAID array. RAID is geek speak for a redundant array of inexpensive disks. There are lots of different RAIDs. Some are for speed, some are for redundancy. One disk mirrors what's on the other disk, so you have two copies should something go wrong. But Drobo has beyond RAID. Some key features are that you can start with just 2 drives and add more as you go without having to go back and do any work or preparation. That you can mix and match drive sizes and manufacturers. That's something you can't do with traditional RAIDs. That you can swap out a smaller drive and replace it with a larger one when you need more space, again, with no work or preparation on your part. Drobo handles it all for you. And of course, protection from data loss should a drive fail. Or if you choose, from 2 drives failing at the same time. Drobos have a battery-backed cache where it holds data before it's written to disk to make sure you don't lose data in case of a power outage. In fact, there's an internal eUSB device which holds data even longer in case there's an extended power outage, as well as a special journaling system to help prevent data loss in that situation. In short, if the power goes out when you're using your Drobo, you won't lose that data. Your Drobo can also be outfitted with a solid-state drive hot data cache, which accelerates some data operations, especially important for photo and database work. If you're using Apple's Photos or Adobe's Lightroom with your Drobo, you're going to definitely want that. Now, that's a whole lot of detail for something I keep telling you is simple. So let me boil it down for you. 1. You can start with just 2 drives in your Drobo and grow from there. 2. You can add or upgrade your Drobo just by sliding a new drive into an empty bay or swapping a smaller drive out for a larger drive, so your Drobo can grow with you. 3. You don't need to worry about what size drive is where or who made it. Drobo can handle whatever 3.5-inch drive you throw at it. 4. If you want to do more with your Drobo, there are all sorts of applications to extend its usefulness. 5, and the bottom line, your data is safe. If you didn't hear my story about my recent data loss and recovery adventures, go back and watch or listen to MacVoices number 15194 and find out why I strongly recommend Drobo for your data storage needs. There are lots of Drobo models to choose from to address all your needs. Some are USB 3.0 attached and Thunderbolt attached, some are network attached. And right now you can save $100 on the Drobo Mini, Drobo 4Bay, or Drobo 5N by visiting drobo.com/MacVoices and using the code VOICES100. That's voices in all caps, 100. I have several Drobos that have been in service for years, and I have never lost any data stored in any of my Drobos. I want you to have that same peace of mind, so visit drobo.com/MacVoices, get yours, and save $100 on the Drobo Mini, Drobo 4Bay, or Drobo 5N. Thanks to Drobo for keeping my data safe, and for their support of MacVoices. Yeah, this is gonna take up quite a bit of time over the holidays, Nick. Because let's say I've got an iPad, I've got an iPhone, I've got a new iPad Pro. Yeah, we're gonna have some fun. We're gonna have some fun.
You're ready to roll.
Yeah. Yeah. Encourage me, Nick. That's what I need.
Something that we didn't hit on earlier. You don't have to have any special hardware or extra accessories to get started using this product. But we do recommend getting your devices on a tripod. That's one of the first steps to having great video, is having something steady that's professional looking. So there's a ton of options out there for mobile media clips or tripods that are made to hold iPhones and iPads. We have some links to resources for that on our website. And also make sure you have good audio. You're going to notice something wrong with audio before you ever notice anything wrong with video as a viewer. So make sure you have a good audio setup and that you're set up to bring that in. You can use the built-in mic, but using something like one of those TRRS adapters will go a long way toward improving your production.
Yeah, absolutely. Great advice across the board. All right, so walk us through, again, the pricing, the apps, everything. So if I'm coming to this cold, walk me through what I need to put on which device and how much it's going to cost me.
Right. So you'll go to the Switcher Studio website, and on the Get Started panel, you can create a 7-day free trial. So you can try out Switcher Pro full access. So you'll just put in your email address and your password. You don't even have to put in a credit card. Take it for a spin. That will move you into the dashboard from your computer or whichever device you logged in and created that account. And that's where you'll see kind of the primer Get Started tutorial videos. At this point, you'll just need an iPhone or an iPad that's your main mixer. So one device is enough to get you started. And when you first launch the app, you'll have the two options: use as a camera or use as switcher. And if you select the use as switcher option, that's where you're going to log in with those same credentials you created through the app, and you can start using Switcher Studio. And with that, there's the built-in camera, the graphics. You can download the screen sharing app. As we've said before, there's just so much you can do with that one device. For the one device, if you're using the built-in camera, you might want to look at getting a clip or a case and a small tripod and maybe an audio mixer. So if you are coming in blank slate, have absolutely nothing, an iPad Air makes a great mixer. An iPad Pro makes an amazing mixer. iPad Mini is very affordable and really easy to use. You can get a lot of those in a laptop bag. So we say bare bones setup. We start with an iPad Mini that's $300. We get an audio adapter that's maybe $30 or $40. We get a case and a tripod that's going to run us maybe $60 to $100, depending on what you go with. We're $500 in, and we have a really, really incredible production setup. And then we can just start adding devices. So if you have an iPhone, you're already set up to do a second camera. If you're looking to do something on the low end, the iPod Touch is $200 to start. So you could do a full-fledged 4-camera setup with multiple iPads, with the clips and tripods for all of your devices, and a nice little router for less than the cost of a MacBook. I mean, you're used to if you're going to run another software-based video switching program, you're going to have a $2,500 computer just to run it, plus the software. and then you get into capture cards and cameras. It starts to add up really quickly. So for the price of just that one computer, you could have a full 4-camera setup.
Yeah, and at that price, for that price, you could probably buy a knob off of one of the dedicated hardware solutions. So, yeah, that's absolutely pretty incredible.
The Switcher Studio app, there's 2 versions. There's a basic version that's free to use for 30 minutes a day. It's kind of a way just to try out the app. If you want to do the image insertion, the director mode, some of the cloud capabilities for remotely managing channels, the integrated speed test, Switcher Pro is the way to go. It's completely loaded. It's so easy to use if you're picking it up for the first time, but it's also very, very deep in functionality. If you're coming from a professional background, you're going to find a lot of the things that you would probably expect there, and we keep making it better. We keep improving it. Switcher Pro is $25 a month or $300 a year, and the annual pricing includes priority support. So we bump you at the top of the list and make sure we get to you a little bit sooner on any support questions. But $25 a month if you're doing a one-off production, or you got something that only happens a couple times a year. If you're doing a wedding, get it when you need it, and when you're done, you're done. If you're doing programming on a regular basis, it just makes sense to stick with it. And we've seen in the world of YouTube that the most successful content creators are ones that are creating quality content, and they're creating content often. And Switcher is a great way to make something worth watching and have something that is very good quality, and you can produce video on a regular basis without eating up as much time setting things up or working with it afterwards, because you can get it right the first time, and if you want to tighten it up a little bit, the director mode lets you do that in little to no time.
And the thing is, and I realize to someone who's not used to looking at this kind of thing, I guess it could be a little intimidating, but it's really so easy to use. I mean, I'm watching you do it, and it all just makes perfect sense, as opposed to a big hardware box and some of those things that can look very intimidating. This is going to be on your iPad or on your iPhone, and those devices, and so there's nothing you can break, and this is all software, so it's not. So I guess the biggest thing is, like you said, just do a little practice, do a little learning ahead of time, so you're not pushing the wrong button at the wrong time. But the idea as you said earlier, that you can just invite someone in and say, hey, do you have an iPhone? Oh, okay, download this app, you're my cameraman.
Right.
Even if you just take them and and prop it against something, and that can be an extra camera for you. How many devices can this handle, Nick?
You can do up to 4 sources. And that can be the built-in camera on the main device, or you can disable that and connect up to 4 additional devices. We do have a camera recovery feature. So if you lose connection, or you get just outside of range, or the battery dies on one of your devices, it's really easy to bring in another iPhone or iPad without interrupting your production. So you don't even have to stop the recording. You could pot another one in. So technically, you could move beyond the 4 devices, but we want to make that a little bit better experience before we really encourage people to go beyond that. And even in professional setups, I mean, if you're doing an interview situation and you want to be real fancy, have a wide shot, have a camera on each person speaking, and you're going to have it more than most people have in that situation. And if you're using the screen sharing app, I mean, you can do some really incredible productions.
Yeah, very nice, very nice. The website, once again, is
switcherstudio.com.
Great. Nick Mattingly, thanks so much for being here and showing it to us and taking up all of my December. It's
happy to do it.
Yeah, I bet you are. I hope you'll come back and tell us as you add more capabilities to this. We'd love to have you back and keep up to date with this, because it's something that I think a lot of people are going to really enjoy.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. Really, really glad we got to talk. And if you have any questions, just let us know.
Great. Folks, I'm Chuck Joyner. This is MacVoices. That is Switcher Studio. Nick Mattingly. I encourage you, if you have any interest in video production, even if you don't have any interest in video production, go and check this out. It's going to be, at the very least, a lot of fun. And the holidays would be a perfect time to amaze your friends with it. Until the next time, thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for links, show notes, to subscribe, to connect with Chuck on Twitter, Google+, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and the MacVoices blog. Subscribe to our weekly newsletter, the MacVoices Dispatch, to stay up to date on all the latest MacVoices news from our front page or at MacVoices.com/newsletter. Do more with your Apple tech by subscribing to the free MacVoices magazine on Flipboard by visiting MacVoices.com/magazine. Advertising and sponsorships handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.